One single move by Donald Trump could spell disaster for China, and that move is to strengthen the Yuan. If the Yuan gains strength, global trade might begin to favor it, weakening the dominance of the dollar. As a result, China could rise as a superpower, only to collapse soon after. It sounds absurd, doesn't it? How could the strengthening of China's currency lead to its downfall? Some believe Trump pausing tariffs signals fear. But those who think that either don't understand Trump or are simply ignorant. Donald Trump might come off as brash, but he is primarily a businessman and only secondarily a politician. Now he's focused on settling a score with China. But why this personal vendetta? Trump's grudge against China runs deep. He seems intent on China's downfall, like two fighters trading punches in a ring. To grasp this, we need to go back to 2008. Wall Street was in turmoil due to a financial crisis, and recession hit the West hard, leaving people unable to buy luxury apartments, so real estate moguls turned eastward. Trump was among them. He struck a deal with Chinese property giant Evergrande to build a luxury office tower in Guangzhou. However, the Chinese government shut him out and canceled the deal, bruising his ego. In 2012, during the Miss Universe beauty pageant, China didn't even make it to the top 15, allegedly because they tried bribing judges and failed. Trump mocked them publicly, calling it an embarrassment for China. Between 2006 and 2017, China's GDP was soaring with double-digit growth. Trump wanted a piece of that economic pie but faced roadblocks. Despite filing 130 trademark applications to do business in China, he was repeatedly rejected. He wasn't president then. But in 2016, once elected, Trump made a bold statement by speaking directly with Taiwan's president, blatantly violating the One China policy, suggesting Taiwan's independence, an extremely sensitive issue for China. Then COVID hit. Since 2019, Trump has consistently called it the Chinese virus, asserting that China was manipulating the WHO and withholding critical data. If Trump had won the 2020 election, he would have likely declared COVID a biological weapon from Wuhan, and China couldn't afford that level of global condemnation. So, it's alleged that China ensured Biden's victory to prevent Trump from regaining power. Once Biden won, public focus shifted away from China due to the Russia-Ukraine war and the Israel-Hamas conflict. But China remained on Trump's radar. After losing, Trump faced lawsuits and public backlash, and many believed he wouldn't recover. But contrary to expectations, with Elon Musk's support, Trump returned to power in 2024. Now he's laser-focused on exacting revenge. But how does empowering the yuan accomplish that? Trump argues that China has betrayed America and is to blame for its economic decline. China strategically devalues its currency to boost exports. Here's how it works. If China sells goods worth $1,000 to the US, they receive about 7,000 yuan at current rates. But if the yuan strengthens, making $1 equal to 6 yuan, China earns only 6,000 yuan. Stronger currency, weaker earnings. This would erode China's competitive edge. China uses a three-step method to challenge America: attract, trap, steal. First, they lure American companies to open factories in China with irresistible offers. Next, they trap them. Manufacturing in China is 10 times cheaper than in the US. Lastly, they steal through reverse engineering. They copy American technology and sell cheap versions back to the US. Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary has said that China doesn't play by the rules. This strategy made China rich and capable of competing with America economically. Now let's look at data. China's GDP is $18 trillion. America's is $25.5 trillion. But while an average American earns about $82,800 annually, a Chinese citizen earns only $12,600. However, China's economy is growing at 4.8%. compared to America's 2.8%. The IMF predicts that by 2030, near the end of Trump's second term, China could surpass America. If Trump doesn't act now, he risks being remembered as the president under whom China overtook the US. That's a legacy he's unlikely to accept. Whenever an emerging power refuses to submit to a superpower, history shows it often leads to conflict, even war. Graham Allison's book, Destined for War, explains the idea of the Thucydides trap, named after the historian who studied the Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta. That 27-year war, though it had no clear winner, devastated all of Greece. Sparta was the superpower, like America, and Athens the rising power, like China. We're seeing similar dynamics now. The economic rivalry between America and China could escalate into a global divide, with countries taking sides, pro-China or anti-China. The US Treasury has stated that bond yields are rising. Don't worry if that sounds complicated. Let's simplify. Bond yields and prices move inversely. Imagine your childhood friend borrows $100 from you and promises to pay $5 annually. That's a 5% yield. Your neighbor warns you. What if he vanishes? To reduce your risk, your neighbor offers to buy that promise for $80. You accept, thinking it's better to recover $80 than risk losing $100. Now your neighbor earns $5 yearly from an $80 investment, a 6.25% yield. Years pass, your friend keeps paying. You want the bond back, but now your neighbor demands $120. You're puzzled. He says the risk is gone and the value has increased. That's how yields work. Similarly, when a new iPhone is launched, the older one's price drops. Same with bonds. China currently holds $800 billion in US Treasury bonds. But with rising yields, buyers prefer new bonds. China's older bonds are less attractive now. The US plays the role of the friend borrowing globally, offering different interest rates at different times. If Trump's policies push yields higher, older Chinese bonds lose value. Imagine your friend hears you're paying $120 for the old bond. He says, give me $100, I'll give you $15 annually. That's a better deal. Why buy the old bond at $120 for $5 returns when you can get $15 from a new one? That's the impact Trump's economic strategies are having. Yields rose from 4.25% to nearly 4.5% after tariffs. So what's the takeaway? Never blindly trust your childhood friend, but do share this video with him. In conclusion, 1. Tariffs are just the beginning. 2. A stronger Yuan could crush China's advantages. 3. China's $800 billion in US debt might soon become worthless. Trump wants to provoke China into launching its own currency and trading globally with it. That would give America justification to fully back Taiwan and recognize it as a separate nation. If China reacts militarily, like Russia did in Ukraine, the US could freeze all Chinese dollar reserves, turning them into worthless paper. China would be stuck. No major trade partners, no dollars. Russia survived sanctions thanks to China. But now Trump is courting Putin to isolate China. His ultimate strategy? Pull Putin away, leave China alone, and deliver his final blow of revenge? So what started as a bruised ego might just reshape the global order. Trump isn't just playing politics, he's playing chess, and China is the queen he's targeting. Whether it's tariffs, currency wars, or diplomatic maneuvers, every move has a deeper motive. If this video gave you a new perspective on global power play, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who still thinks it's just about trade. The US-China story is far from over, and we'll be here to break it all down, move by move. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed.